Sandile, I see your hand is up. So could you please raise your voice? Sorry. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for enlightening me, ma'am. I had completely forgotten. All right. So as I was saying, we have a panel, which is a control that can group components together, similar to the way a group box can group components together. Now, as we were about to investigate the events associated with a panel. So looking at a panel, we see that we have on align insert before on align position, which we might not even use throughout this module. But importantly, the on click as well as the on double click. So something can happen when we click anywhere on this panel. But for this demonstration, we will not be using any event for our panel. We have our button there, of which we are going to just allow the user to type something inside that T-edit, and then we just display the information there. Maybe we might think of something funky as we are busy typing there. So probably we can ask the user to enter their name, and then we can display the user's name, maybe say the first character uppercase, the second character lowercase, the third character uppercase, the fourth character lowercase, and so on and so on. So let us go ahead and do something like that. So I'm going to create an event for my button, which is button 1. I'm going to go to the events tab, and then on the on click event, I'm going to double click. Or using your shortcut, you can just double click on this button, and then it will create the most common event associated with the button. And in this case, it is the on click button. So in here, first thing first, we are going to take whatever name the user will have entered from the edit. So we have a edit 1, and then we want the text from it. So ultimately what we are supposed to do is, if someone enters, for example, we must display it in the following manner. First letter uppercase, second letter lowercase, third letter uppercase, fourth letter lowercase, and so on.
Okay, so let's look at some application of trick function.
Pardon? So should we also activate the form on the event too? For now, no, let us not create any event of the form. For now, no, let us not create any event on the form. So ultimately, this is the output that we want at the end, and this name should be displayed where? On our label 1. So you'll notice that I am able to navigate from design view to code view in an instant. And I am doing that by just tapping my F12 key on the keyboard. So if you press your F12, it switches from design to code, or vice versa. Wonderful. So if I can just put this question to you guys, what is the logic that is required to have a funky name like this, or an output like this? What is the logic that is required? Anyone?
I think every second letter has to be uppercase.
Every second letter. This is the second letters, and they are in lowercase.
Say. Based on my understanding, I think that we need to count the letters, which we have even and odd numbers if they are equally. So whenever it's an odd number, we can say upper, and whenever it is an even, we make it a lower.
Wonderful. Wonderful. The reason why, guys, it's important to have these approaches is this. In honesty, and honestly speaking, 99% of the time, the solution is in front of you. I think you have seen even how the practice one and the tutorial one questions come. They are just instructions. And actually, those instructions are actually an algorithm. So for us to actually pass, all we need to do is to understand what we are supposed to do, come up with an approach, and convert that approach to C++. Because really, that's all that we need. Only 1% or 2% of the time, you will be required to think outside the box. But everything will be written in plain English, and your job is just to convert that to a C++ code that works. But without wasting any further time, the gentleman proposed that we say for every odd number, let us make our character uppercase. And for every even number, let our character be a lowercase. Therefore, to do that, first I am going to need to create a loop that will iterate through all my characters inside my string object. Therefore, to create that loop, we will begin at 1 because ANSI strings are index 1 based. Great. Now that is said, we need to know how many characters there are within our string object. And yesterday we said to determine that, all we have to do is use the length method. So the length method will go to our name object and count the number of characters available inside that string object. Great. Now we just say loop until we are at the last character, which is count characters. So now the gentleman proposed that we do something that checks if a number is an even number or an odd number. Now I think you have done this in your entire 111 syllabus, and the condition will always be if our iterator variable I, when we divide it by 2, if it leaves no remainder, then this should be an even number, because an even number is a number which when you divide it by 2, it leaves no remainder. And we are dealing with remainders, hence my division is a modulus. Wonderful. So if something is even, then what do we want to do? Make characters a lower case. So to make a character a lowercase, we are no longer going to be using our uppercase and lowercase methods, because those methods apply to a string object. Currently, what we want is to capitalize a single character, either capitalize or make lower a single character. And to deal with single characters, you will remember in 111 when we covered chapter 14, which was about character manipulation. You will remember that we used to have functions like is alpha or is upper, something like that. Is upper, is lower, is digit, is punct for punctuations, and so on. Even in here, they still apply when necessary. So for this example, what we ultimately want to do is to convert a single character to either a lowercase or an uppercase. So right now, since we are dealing with even numbers or even indexes, if I should put it like that, it means these characters should be converted to lower cases. So to do that, we are going to use the function to lower, which comes from the C-string library, for those who still remember. So we'll say to lower, and it's going to expect a single character that it wants to convert to a lowercase. And we are going to say, take the very same character on this index that we are currently at. Questions? Questions? Say, I don't know, maybe network, but I keep losing you. Like I hear part of what you is this does this go for everyone? Am I breaking or cutting? Whatever the English term that is.
No, you're not.
All
You're
right,
loud
so
and clear.
all right. So there maybe just you remember how we used to look for the signal with our phones. Maybe just move around. I don't know, something like that to get proper connection with the signal. So with this code, we are going to say on the position of index I initially is 1, and then 1 divided by 2, does it leave a remainder? Yes. So it's not even, it will not execute this code. And then I plus plus, I becomes 2. 2 divided by 2, does it leave a 0 remainder? Yes. And then we are saying name at index 2, character at index 2 will be E. And then we are saying that small e or that lowercase e, we want to replace it with the same e, but now it is taken to a lowercase. Does that make any sense? And then for the else part, all we need to do is just copy that and change our to lower to upper. I can't remember if it's written in small letters, but yeah, because they're coming from the C string library, they should be lowercase, ne? To upper and to lower. And then finally, our name or our funky name will be created. And then lastly, all we have to do is send this name to our label using the caption, and then we display the name there. Now, if I can quickly just save my project because I cannot run it without saving, and then we get into catch ups, and then session 3 project, and then we say session 3 unit, and then we say session 3 PCH, and then session 3 project. Session 3 project. So let's attempt to run this and see what we get. So let me in the meantime check whose name I'm going to use. Shebela. Okay, so I'm going to write, I can write it in lowercase or uppercase, it should work. So let's see, zoom it a little bit. So here is my Shebela written in lowercase. So when I press that button, only the letters sitting on odd indexes are capitalized. So H, which is 1 is an odd number. E, sitting on index 3 is an odd number. Another E, and so on and so on. So I assume even if I write Clavella in uppercase, we would get the same results. Any questions? Any questions, guys? Bro, okay. Okay, Now, another important concept that we are also supposed to know is changing fonts. Changing fonts of our control. So we have this label there. It has default fonts, default size, and all of that. And obviously, if we want to change the font of it, we can come to our properties, look for the font property, which is an enum because it has a list there. So when you double click this, we get the following box. The first part is the font name. The font name. The second part, we have the font style. And then we also have the font size. And then lastly, we have the font color. So please look at my navigation for me to be able to change the font. First, I go to which property? The font property. Once I get into the font property, then what do I check for? The font name. And then if I want to change that font to the font style, I still have to go to my font property, and then inside my font, I can go to the font style. Same way with size. If I want to increase the font size, I first have to go to the font property and then get into the font size. So let's follow all that navigation using our code. So let's say before we display there, let's set up a font. So now to get that font, first we have to go to the control. Now after getting on the control, we have to go to the property font. Inside the property font, we can now access what? The font name, the font style, and the font size, and also as well the font color. So now we are going to say the font name is equals to, and then inside this brackets we are going to write, so inside this parenthesis, is it parenthesis? No, double quotes. No, yeah, double quotes. Inside this double quotes, we are going to write the name of the font. And remember, the name of the font must be existing. You cannot just come up with the name of the font from your head. It must be existing. So I'm going to use MV Boli as the name of my font. So I'm going to say MV Boli as the name of my font. Now to change or to increase the font size, I have to go to my control, which is label 1. I have to go inside font property. Then now I can say the size of that font. So I'll say it is equals to a 14. Now if we run our application, our label will look different. So now let's enter, who's the second name that I can use? Mashilo. I don't know if it's low or you, but now let's go. Now our font has been increased, and the font name as well has also changed. So are there any questions with changing the font and all of that?
Yes, there's a question.
Yes.
I want to know how do you like access the font styles, because I've been trying to make the font bold, but I've been struggling.
Oh yeah, the one with font style is actually a little bit tricky. To actually change the font style, we have to say font, and then I think it's style, ne? And then the way that we assign this is actually a little bit different, because we used to say, by the way, to get the font styles, you'll use the prefix fs, ne? Fs, and then it should show the italic. Here's the bold one. There should also be italic, fs italic, there it is. There's also, is it regular or normal? And then this is normal. But now, even if we do apply them, they usually just give us an error there. No visible conversion. Let me quickly see this. UI types. Oh, come on. FS bolt and what? So I remember, I think we used to do something like, I can't remember. Was it the arrows here? I can't remember what we used to do. But there should be some error somewhere. So let me just quickly press an F1 there. I can't remember how we used to do that. Okay, yeah, they are not telling me what I want. So let's say font. Some font, T font plus, VCL font, typeface, bold or italic. Also doesn't tell me anything that I need to know. I think it was something like, let me just see, was it FS? When we do something like that, or like this. Oh, I can't remember. I'll look for this and just show you, ne? But it has to. Let me see. Yes. Nope. I really can't remember. I really can't remember. But because this is actually difficult, we don't usually ask you to change the font style. We usually just stop at font name and the font size. But I'll still look for it and give it to you guys. Ne? It was something like this. I just can't remember. The correct syntax. FS bold. Guys, no. Anyway, I forgot it. Yeah, there are some things that they hit me, ne? They para me. But yeah, we usually just end here, ne, guys? The font name, the font size, as well as the font color. The font color. So we say font, and then we get to the color. And then to get your colors, guys, ne? We know that colors are you do not have to include any files from as we have said yesterday when someone asked me about colors.h. You do not have to include any file or any library or any class. Our colors are available globally by using the keyword or the prefix CL for color. So once you type CL and then you press Control space, and then you can get your colors there, ne? Aqua, black, blue, button face, all of that. So let's go with teal like that. And then let me just bring my label here because I see it changes the positions. Let me just put it there and then let's try to debug our program. So let's now type another surname. I'm struggling on my environment. Okay, Mashumu, we will repeat that in a few seconds. So let's use Mashumu. And then there, as you can see, the color also changed there to teal. So that's it with fonts and colors. There's not usually much, but it's important to know them. Also where they are, and as you can see, I'm not including any other files to change this. These are available globally. They are globally available. So coming back to Mashumu's plea there, how to put controls on a group control, on a group box. So we have to start with a group box. Mashum, we have to start with a group box, and then from a group box, that's when you can put whatever control that you want. So for example, let's have a T-edit. Interesting enough, if we look at the structure there, you'll see Because our panel is grouping other controls, those controls are below a panel like this. So if I close this, you can see the button and the label are hidden because they form part of the panel. So when you click on the panel, you basically have control of all these other controls. For example, if I say cut, I cut the panel only. Even the children will go. Did you all see that, guys? Because they are all part of Yonayo. What did I do now? I placed my panel inside a group box and my panel has other controls. Fish. Okay, so edit, cut, edit, paste. Okay, thank you for not giving me a problem. So my T-edit is inside a group box, and then I also need to have a button there. I need to have a button. Actually, the button must go. We have been dealing with a button for the longest of time. Let's introduce also a checkbox, because I said today we are also going to cover a checkbox. So let's look at our checkbox there. I just need to increase this a little bit and then have my checkbox there. A checkbox. So what is a checkbox? Press F1 and then we come here. A T checkbox represents a checkbox that can be on checked or off unchecked. So this is a component which we use when we want to give options to the user. So with a checkbox, the user is able to select or to check many of them. Okay. There's also another one called a radio group, but we are not going to get into it right now. It's maybe probably next week. That's when we can start talking about the radio groups. But a checkbox is a component that provides the user with options. Do you want to check this or not? I can't think of an application that uses a checkbox. Definitely not WhatsApp. Definitely not Instagram. Oh well. Come on. Okay, doesn't matter. But a checkbox can be checked. This box can be checked or unchecked. And then it has an event. Ne? It has an event, and the event is on click, not on checked. There is no event called on checked or unchecked. There is an event called on click. But with this event, we can say when the user clicks this checkbox, we can check if it is checked or not using the checked property. Checked property. So I think there was some example where I said hide or show for the password, and then we have a T-edit there, and then in this T-edit I want to delete the text. And what I did with this T-edit, I actually changed a password character property to a star to say when the user types in a password, the password must be hidden. So currently, if I run this right now, I just want you guys to see something real quickly. When I type anything in there, you see I'll assume it's a password. The password is hidden. So I had said to you that when you press this checkbox there, it should display the actual password, and when you uncheck it, it should return to this norm. Now I've already shown you what property I've used to actually hide my password, if there is a password, of course. I've used the password character property of a T-edit. We didn't cover it yesterday. I left it specifically for today's session. So we have a password character property. So let me say now I put a plus. What do you think is going to happen? Now I say my password character should be hidden with a plus. Will it display the pluses in there before I type anything? Silence.
Yes.
Am I still? Okay, let's see. There you go. It shows the character that you choose on a password character property. So now let's get into the checkbox. Let's go and create an on-click event of the checkbox, because when we do this, ladies and gentlemen, when we actually do this, we are actually clicking the checkbox. So there should be an event for that. So I'm going to go over to the events tab, and then I'm going to double click. So when I double click, you should remember that my checkbox has a property called checked, for me to check if that box was checked or not. So what we are going to do now is we are going to create an if statement to say if that box, which is check box 1, if it is checked, it means we want to do what? We want to display user password. I get show the password. Else, our checkbox is not checked. There's no unchecked, ne? There's no unchecked. We do not have this. We do not have this. Rather, what we are going to do is we are going to say checked, and then we are going to put the not operator there to say if this checkbox 1 is not checked. Is that clear with everyone? There is no unchecked. There is no unchecked. There is no unchecked. O tla ko ka true or false ya web test where unchecked are true. All right, let's continue. So now, if our checkbox is checked, what do we want to do? We want to display the password entered by the user. So we are going to say edit to. What property was that? That controls if text is encrypted or not encrypted.
It's password car. Password character.
Password car. Car. Now, we know by default, I said it should be a star. A star meaning that it's going to display those encrypted password. But now, let's say we want to return it back to normal and we want it to actually display the text. What value are we going to assign here? I can just go to this one and then I can show you the default value. What is the default value of password key?
The default value isn't it #0?
#0, ne? So are we saying we can do something like #0 like that? Already giving us an error.
I think the default value is 0, sir. As a character. As a character.
As a character.
No, 0 only. If it's a number, it's 0 only, sir. Only 0. No?
Okay, only 0. That is correct, ne? So the default value of password char is actually 0. Never mind the hash, ne? What's important there is this 0. The 0 will actually say, okay, I am a normal T-edit, just display the original text. And then in here, we say if it is not checked, then we want our password to be hidden by using the star as a character. Did we all get this?
Nope. Can you please explain again, sir?
All right. If we go back to design, I'm going to click on edit 1 because I have not manipulated it. Clicking on edit 1, if we examine the property password char, originally it comes with a #0, which means that text will be displayed as text originally. But now if I go and change this property to whatever character that I supply, then it means the text that is displayed within this T-edit will be encrypted by this character. So let's choose the add character, and then let us just quickly run this. And I want to show you that with that add, whatever that I enter inside, it becomes the character which I have chosen as my password car or password char. Now it means if I want to return this back to normal, I can use a 0 or a #0 that came with this by default. So let's see what the 0 will do. The 0 actually encrypts it with a 0. So the character that you supply here, the character that you supply here will actually act as your encryption character. So if you want it to actually be this the normal way, we have to add a hash, but only on the object inspector. I'm saying this because in code it's going to be done different. So now you can see I'm getting the original text. Now that was through the object inspector. Let us examine how we are actually going to do that via code. So here we are saying if this box was not checked, if the user didn't select this box, then we say we want to hide our password with this character, a star. But now if the box is now checked, if the user selected the box, we want the box or we want the edit to actually display the actual text, and we are going to assign 0 here. But pay attention, our 0 is not assigned as a character, it is assigned as an int, which will say go back to the default view. So before I run this, let's also examine this property of a not db edit, t edit. Let us just read a little bit on there. So password character indicates the character, if any, to display in place of the actual characters typed in the control. Use the password character property to create an edit control that displays a special character in place of the entered text. Okay, let's go ahead. If the password char is set to the null characters, ANSI character 0, the ANSI character 0. Do you see the answer? ANSI character 0, 0. The edit displays its text normally. But if the password character property is any other character, then the edit will display the character chosen in place of each character type. Did you all get that? So it means if we want to make it act like a normal T edit, we are going to give it an ANSI character of 0. But we are not going to put this inside single quotes, because if we do that, it is actually going to replace the actual characters with a 0. Let's just examine if I am lying. Did I return this back to normal? Let's come back there. Let's say a star initially, and then let's type our password. So now the password is hidden because of the star which I chose as my password character. Now when I press this checkbox, it's going to now execute this code. So when I click it, it means it's now going to check. Is this checkbox checked? And then if it's checked, it's going to use this character as a password character. So let's see. It now says 000, and this is not what we want. We want it to display the actual characters. So that is why I'm saying a 0 inside double quotes will not work. Rather, let's just have an int 0. So let's debug this again, and then let's type our password, and then when we do that, our normal password comes in actual character. When I uncheck it, then this applies, meaning it is hidden or encrypted, just like that. Just like that. Just like that. Questions? Let me check in the chat. How are you going to change the color of the panel when clicking the button? Can you please repeat the explaining of the checkbox control? Okay, so let's start with this one. How are we going to change the color of the panel when clicking the button? Which button was that? It's this one. Okay, so this button to change the color of the panel. Miss Mulika Okari, you are looking for answers. Okay, change panel color. So first we are going to refer to our panel, which is panel 1, and then we are going to say color is equals to CL, whatever color that you want. Ne? Let's choose red. And I know ne? on some people's laptops or computers, the color doesn't actually change. Like for now, you see, even mine doesn't change, but the code is correct. Can you see? It doesn't change. And if it doesn't change, here are the steps that you can take. So first, go back to design, click on your panel, and then just choose whatever color. Ne? Maybe it's still sleepy. Maybe this color property is still sleepy. So just play around with it, change the colors. You can see they work there on the top. Ne? Change the colors, and then when you are satisfied, return it back to the normal color, which is button face, and then you can now debug again, and then now it should change. Did you all get that?
Yes, sir. Thanks.
All right. Wonderful. And then, Konje, what was the other question? Can you please repeat the explaining of the checkbox control? Okay. A checkbox is a control that allows the user to have some options chosen or selected. Right now, we only have one, okay? But we could have 2 or 3 more checkboxes, and the user can choose a checkbox according to what's written next to it. Okay, so for example, if maybe we were designing something that has to do with I don't know, your ID or something, and then we had a checkbox there, copy, paste, and then we had a checkbox there like female, and then this one we say male. Now the problem with this is a checkbox or one or 2 or none of this checkbox can be unchecked, or they can all be checked. And you, in all honesty, you can't be a female and a male. So meaning a checkbox will not fulfill that role for us. But maybe for some options like let's say maybe subjects. Ne? Let's say you are registered for DSO23 BT, and you are also registered for TPG201T, but not as the name, not as the name, as the caption. Now with this, it will make more sense, because yes, you are actually registered for 23 BT DSO as well as for 201T TPG. So in this case, you are welcome to check all of them or none. So these checkboxes will fulfill their purpose for such an example. But in terms of either true or false, 1 or 0, male or female, boy or girl, lady, gentleman, you cannot use a checkbox for that, because a checkbox can be, or checkboxes can all be checked, or they can all be unchecked, or only 1 or 2 of them can be checked or unchecked. So coming back to our example there, I only have one checkbox, which is going to control the text inside this T-edit. So what we are saying here is, if the user, I think you have seen it even with your Instagrams, when you log in, there is a little eye icon next to where you're typing. When you press that eye icon, it displays the actual password. When you unpress it, it hides the password. So that's the purpose of a checkbox. It just gives options to the user. Now, it has the following property. It has the following property called checked, 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 to determine if the user checked this checkbox or unchecked this checkbox. But now, for us to raise an event with it, we do not have the unchecked or on unchecked. We only have the click. So we are going to say when the user clicks this, obviously this will get checked or unchecked. Now that is when now we can create our if statement using this property called checked, which is the same way we did here. So when this checkbox is clicked, when it is clicked, we now want to check, is the checkbox checked? Meaning, is it marked or ticked? If yes, then this is the code that we want to execute. But if it is not checked, remember the exclamation mark there that represents the not operator. If it is not checked, then this is what we want to do. Are you answered, Miss Madisha? Or is it Madisha?
Yes,
Miss
sir.
Madisha. All right. And then Mashumu, please repeat the explaining of change color of the group box and why is it now called. No, Mashumu, no. We have a panel, which is this one, and then we have a group box, which is this one. So the color that we were changing it on the panel. As you can see here, it says T panel. We were changing the color on the panel, not on the group box. But in any way, if you wanted to also change the color of the group box, you will also say change group box color. You will also follow the same route. Again, you will say group box 1 color is equals to CL blue, whatever color that is. And then you can see when I press the button inside the panel, I actually told it to change the color of this panel as well as the color of this group box. And then only the color of the panel changes, and this one does not change. And if it doesn't change, my good people, always remember this step. Go back to design, click on that control which you want to change the color with, and then play with the colors here. Just play with them, you will see that it changes. Play with them a little bit more, and then once you feel you are satisfied, then return it back to the normal color, which is color button face. And then after doing that, you can just debug your application again, and then hopefully this time around it should change the color. I think sometimes these controls, they are sleepy when it comes to colors. It doesn't apply at the same time. So sometimes maybe you have to wake them up by playing with the colors here before you can actually apply them with code. Great. Fair, I'm muted. I'm not muted. My mic is still on. Oh, was I muted? Was I muted, good people?
No.
Okay. Mr. Damalala, I think maybe the speakers went to sleep or something. Any questions, guys? Any questions? That was the panel. That was a group box. That was a check box. We have seen how to change fonts and font sizes. I'll look for that font style code. Ne? I have it somewhere in my draft, somewhere. And then we have also seen what changing of colors. Oh, and the password character property. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Langa, your hand is up. Any questions, guys? Sir, please explain the password part again. The password part again. Okay, we have a T-edit, guys, and then this T-edit contains a property called password character, which is, if we can just go to the code so that we can read on it again. T-edit. And by the way, to get this information, you just put your cursor on the word or on the function that you need help on, and then you press F1, ne? F1. And then let's go and see what information they have for us on password char. So password character property indicates the character, if there is any, that we want to display in place of the actual characters. So using the password character property, we create a control that displays a special character in place of the entered text. If the password char is set to 0, and then the edit control will display its text normally, meaning the actual characters will be displayed. But if we use any other character as a password character property, then the edit control will replace the actual text with the character we have chosen. Now, as you can see here on the code, when we say our edit control, its property of password character is 0, what we are actually saying is display normal text, the actual text which the user will have entered inside this T-edit. But now, if we choose any other character, it could be a star or it could be a plus or the ampersand or the percentage, whatever. If we choose any other character, then this character will replace the actual text. Is that fine? I'm not sure if it's Mr. or Miss Mushroom. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Mushroom. All right, any other questions, guys? Zulu? Any questions, guys? On hold. Matter. On hold. Any questions? Langa. Hello, Lang. Hello, Langa. Oh, it's me. Can be me. I'm at the top. All right. Langa. Probably my sibling. I don't know. Langa. Anyway, let me stop the recording before I make some funny businesses here. Stop recording.